Hello and welcome to another episode of the Field of 68's off-season grades. My name is Rob Doster. I have Mike Latulip with me, and today we are talking about the Virginia Cavaliers and the new head coach, Ryan Odom. Mike, what we like to do with these is at the start, just kind of go through what's changed on the roster, what's going to look different this season as opposed to last season, who they have coming back. And the easy thing about talking about Virginia is you can just talk in absolutes here. They lost everyone.
Yeah.
They bring nobody back, and everybody on the roster is going to be new, including the head coach. And we'll get into the Ryan Odom conversation here in a second because I don't know if there's anything more fascinating than seeing a guy coming from VCU and Havoc to going to Virginia and the pack line, right? Like I love the contrast and styles that you get with those two, what those two programs are kind of known for. Um, in terms of Virginia's roster, spoiler alert, I think they're going to be really, really good. Dallin Hall, veteran guy, been around for years, solid point guard, 35% from three on 3 attempts per game, played in the Big 12 last year. Jakari White, really good piece coming in from North Dakota State, averaged 17 a game, shot 40% from three on 7 attempts per game. Malik Thomas from San Francisco. I don't know how this dude got eligible, but he's 6'5". He is an elite athlete. He averaged 20 a game in the West Coast Conference. He shot 39% on 5+ threes. I think there's a very real chance that I think on paper, he is the guy that everybody assumes is going to be the best player for Virginia this year. And I'll tell you right now that I have been told that the best player for Virginia this summer has been Thijs de Ritter, the Belgian 22-year-old, played in Spain last year. He's got 2 years of eligibility. He's a 6'8" kind of combo forward, does all the DHO stuff, plays at a really, really high skill level. Will also dunk on your head. Like I watched some highlights of him last night, and he's got a little bit more shit to him than I think people realize. They got a kid coming in from Germany who literally just arrived on campus last night as we're recording this. Devin Tillis is a UC Irvine transfer off the bench. Sam Lewis is a Toledo transfer. So I love what Odom did here, where he kind of went out and got veteran guys with proven production in good conferences and sometimes in high major conferences, and then combine that with a couple of freshmen he's taking a risk on, and a Euro guy that they believe is going to end up being an absolute stud. What do you make of the Who's? What do you make of this roster?
Virginia got better, flat out, just flat out. They got better, and they vaulted themselves. I think in a league that I think is definitely leveling up this year.
Mm-hmm.
No question, it's going to be more competitive. I think a lot of that's due to the coaching upgrades across the league. When you look at Odom and Lucas and Wade and Laux, but Virginia is one of those teams that is upgraded in a big way, and so I think you go back and look at previous Ryan Odom teams, and it's easy to go back a year before and see like VCU just a little bit different than I think they're going to play this year. I go back more to like the 23 Utah State team
I was,
where,
yep.
right? Like Ashworth, Shulga, multiple handlers, uh, defense question mark, but offense for sure. I mean, this team has a chance to be a top 20 offense in America. I think they're that skilled. They shoot it. They have multiple. I don't want to say multiple handlers doesn't even do it justice. I think they have five, borderline six guys that if you need to get into something, they
Mm-hmm.
can do it. And Malik Thomas is definitely your get downhill paint touch type of guy and great in isolation. But Dallin Hall, he's not a blur. But one thing that you saw last year, and Traore that should send him like an edible arrangement for this. But just he's so matter of fact with like I'm gonna play with my pace, and I ended up 10 feet from the basket again. I'm here in the paint, and it's not off a burst or anything, but he just does it so workmanlike, and that's only going to help. And then you look at the other guys, like I love Tillis as just a guy that can pick and pop. Jakari White is the ultimate kind of paranoia guy where you always have to account for where he's at. But DeRitter, when I went back and watched
He's a difference maker.
he's a pro.
He is a complete difference maker.
Yeah, total pro. And we've just seen, I mean, look at all the teams that have had success over the years. Like I look at those Florida teams, it's like how can like those guys at the four and that you can potentially slide to the 5 in different emergency situations, like that ties your roster together. That ties your personnel together. And
Yeah.
he punishes mismatches. He can step out. He's a good athlete. You can tell when his team overseas is getting into things, like he's pointing, he's directing traffic. He's not an order taker. Like all that stuff is. I didn't even mention Sam Lewis, who was another 43% 3-point shooter and 16 a game at Toledo. It's an embarrassment of offensive riches for
Yeah.
Virginia.
And look, the point you made about Utah State is one that I was going to bring up because Ryan's been really good at kind of adapting his style of coaching to the place that he is at, right? Like I think that he's not a system guy. He is a basketball coach where he's going to say, "Well, this
Yeah.
is what I have. This is what I can get in this place that I'm at. This is what they are known for, and this is how we're going to end up playing." So I think he's going to have plenty of success. He's a hell of a coach, man. Like there's a reason why he was the first guy to ever upset a 16 seed. Which, by the way, like, did you know that his dad was an assistant? Like he grew up in Charlotte. He went from,
Yeah.
I think it was 10 years old to 17 years old in Charlottesville. So like your formative years as a sports fan, his dad was a coach at Virginia, and then he goes and takes UMBC. And I didn't realize this until I talked
Upsets
about this.
Virginia.
Also, yeah, and goes and upsets Virginia, the first ever 16 seed to upset a one, which is like I never put that together until. And I love what Tony Bennett did this offseason. Did you see the statement he put out? He's basically like, I love Ryan Odom. I have nothing but good things to say about him except for one night in 2019, which is it's the way that you had to play that. But look, like,
Yeah.
um, he went out like he built this. So full disclosure, we just recorded Maryland, and one of the things that I said about Maryland was it felt a little haphazard in how Buzz put that roster together. And I think when you look at what Ryan and his staff did this summer, if everything feels intentional, right? Like you have 4 grad transfers that can play different roles and all kind of fit together well, right? You have guys that have proven production in big minutes at places where they won, right? More than anything, like Dallin Hall won at BYU. Jakari White won at North Dakota State. Malik Thomas won at USF, right? Like you have guys from good quality programs that have been coached, that know how to play, that will fit into a specific system, and you build it all around. I'm with DeRitter, right? To me, like I wrote him down as the X factor because I think he's probably the most, correct me if I say this wrong, but I think he's probably the most talented guy on this team. I think that if he is your best player, because I know how good Malik Thomas is, I know what I think of some of these other guys they brought in. If Tease DeRitter is your best player, Virginia's going to be a top 20 team in America. Because I think that if he is that good with some of the guys they have on this team, the system is going to work and Virginia is going to be back.
Yeah, he's a really connective piece, is the way I would put it. Because again, it ties together a lot of this personnel. Like, is he the most talented player on the team?
Skilled. He's the most skilled.
Skilled. Yeah,
Skilled, yeah.
I think he's. I'd say he's the most skilled on the team. I think he's the best pro prospect on the team, and I think just like we talked about when we talked about UCLA and Tyler Bilodeau, he's not a guy where it's like give it to Ritter, ISO, clear out, like let's go make something shake. That's not necessarily him. He's great in all those other ways where like punish mismatches, get you in the low post, face up, attack you in face ups, pick and pop, like all that stuff. I think is where he
He
can really
makes
perform.
everything else work the same
Yes.
way. Like I'm not making this comparison, right? But in the think
But
about
you
it
are.
like the way that Nikola Jokic makes everything else work for the Nuggets, and how you have a guy that is maybe not the best athlete kind of be your initiator, that you run stuff through, that lets you make decisions, that lets you be that pulls a big away from the basket, that creates space for you. Your big guy that is out there making reads, processing the game at the top of the key that you run offense through. Like a point power forward is kind of what DeRitter can be. And that's what I think he'll be for Virginia. I'm not saying he's going to be Nikola Jokic, okay? But the way that Jokic is used and makes everyone else better at Denver is kind of what I see being the role DeRitter plays at Virginia. Does that make sense?
It does because I think about DeRitter in a situation where let's say you do slide him to the 5, because I think there's going to be instances where you can do that. You put him as a hub at the top of the key, and now you got 5 out, and it's White, Thomas, it's Lewis, it's Hall all on the floor, And now it's, flare screens coming up from the corners and guys slipping out. The paint's going to be open because all these guys can shoot it. So I think they're just going to have a field day with all the optionality that they have offensively. And then, yeah, I think DeRidder, again, he ties all that together. My X factor is Malik Thomas, all because I know what I'm going to get from DeRidder, but Malik Thomas, and I think it's another point too, just the experience and the age of this Virginia team. Virginia last year had 1 senior. This year they have 6, 4 of which I think are going to be really big factors, or really 5 of which I think are going to be big factors in the rotation. And I said 6, it's really 5 because they have DeRidder, I think, labeled as a freshman. He turns 23 in January. So I'm just gonna say he's a senior. But the reason Malik Thomas is my X factor is, we spent some time at the high major level before San Francisco, and it just didn't get a ton of time, didn't have much production. Can he level back up and be a guy that an offense can orbit around? Or is that going to have to be DeRidder? Can those two guys do that in tandem? So that's something I look at. Like he's a former top 100 kid, 42% last year from 3 off the bounce. And when you look at guys projecting back up to the high major level, Walter Clayton was a guy when he was at Iona that shot it just really well from 3 off the bounce. Like you need that from guys that you want to rely on to create. Because then you always have the threat of them coming off of ball screens. You got to be more up to touch. That is all in play for Malik Thomas. The 2 keys for him though are, can he get to the line at the same rate? Or close to. He was like almost 7 free throws a game at San Francisco. Can he be a 5.5, 6 free throw a game guy? That's going to stabilize a lot of things offensively. And then can he take a step forward as a playmaker for others? I mean, he had 13 games last year with 1 assist or less. I mean, it was just like when Thomas got the ball last year for San Francisco, like you just saw, like there were times where you saw his teammates just like this, like just standing on the opposite wing, like, hey man, and he just goes.
He's not wired to pass. He's wired to score.
Yeah, and you need a guy like that because
and I think it works. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I agree with you because I think it works because you have, Dallin Hall's out there to facilitate, and you have a guy in DeRidder who's out there to kind of make things easier for other people, and you have spacers around him where I don't think he's going to be Thomas. That is, I don't think he's going to be the highest usage guy. But you need that role where it's kind of like, all right, there's 8 seconds left on the shot clock. We can't do any of this fancy shit. Just give the ball to Malik. Go get us a shot, man. Go make something
late
happen.
Clock, late game.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, and there's, Ritter may be a guy, and Hall, all those guys are going to get chances within the flow of a game to really kind of set the table and do things for you offensively. Jakari White, same thing. But you need to have a guy late that things can orbit around. And that's just the role allocation late game is something that so many teams struggle with. And when you look up in the when you're looking to punch your ticket to the NCAA tournament, it's always 4 or 5 games for these teams that end up swinging things. Like, we didn't win the 1, 2, 3 possession games, or and that's where I think Virginia can really excel this year. So it's going to be interesting. Another X factor that I'll throw in there, Chance Mallory. This is just. He was committed to Tony Bennett previously. VCU had offered him. Obviously had a relationship with Ryan Odom. And now I just watch him and I'm like, God, I see a little Ashworth in him. I do. I think he has this ability at his size. Guys that are 5'9", 5'10", like that, you think of them as like these like jittery kind of like water bug guards. He's 5'9", 5'10", and has this like elegance and smoothness to his game, and he can make shots off the bounce. He can find his way into the paint. He's great in transition. Like, he's another guy that I think is going to have ball handling responsibilities this year that can set the table for them. It's just, how many guys have we talked about at this point? I think it speaks to the point on Virginia offensively. Now, defensively, that Utah State team we're comparing them to in 23 was 70th defensively. I think they'll be a little bit better than that, but I think it was proven in the ACC last year where you can survive. If you have a really good offense and just like a, okay defense, you can survive and you can still win games. That's going to get a little bit harder this year, but I still think it's true.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. And it also helps that, your starting lineup is what, like Hall's like 24, 23, 24.
They're old as hell, man.
The Raiders 22 and been through it. Like the
Yeah.
other. So just one last point I want to make on DeRidder, right? One of the, and I'll compare him to Johan Grunlow, the other European they got coming in. Grunlow, you want to put your mind around him being like a top 30-ish kind of a freshman coming in, a 7-footer, right? Where a guy like that, you're not necessarily expecting, especially in this day and age of college basketball, you're not expecting him to be more than just kind of like a role guy. He'll have an impact in some games, but it's going to take a while for him to adjust, especially considering like he just got here, right? This is not someone that's been there the entire summer. Whereas, because he's 18, he's young, he's actually a freshman. The Raider is a freshman, but he is 22. He is Belgian and has been playing in Spain. He's an adult. He's experienced being away from home. He's experienced different cultures. It's a little different going from Belgium to Spain than it is going from Europe to America. But he's experienced life away from home and experienced life in a country where it's not his native language. And I think that is huge. He's played in the Spanish ACB, which is the second best basketball league in the entire world, right? So his adjustment to me is going to be easier than I think some of these other Europeans have been. Like we've seen other hype guys come from like Adai Mara, for example, right? Tons of talent, tons of skill, goes to LA, goes to play for Mick Cronin as an 18-year-old, and it takes him a little while to get to the point where he can impact the college game. And then he transfers out. Is at Michigan. We're going to see if he can kind of live up to his potential there. I don't think you're going to see that adjustment from DeRidder. Like the guy that I would compare him to, and tell me if you think this is crazy. I think he'll be somewhere in the neighborhood, maybe a little bit better than Joshua Jefferson at Iowa State last year. A guy that can get you 14-8, 3 assists, an impact defender, but a guy that you can just kind of be the hub of an offense that stuff runs around. Not going to score 30 a night, not going to be the most flashy player, but like just out there and helps you win. And Iowa State's best player last season, all things considered, wasn't the best scorer, wasn't the leading scorer, wasn't the all-conference guy. The best player was Joshua Jefferson, in my opinion. I think that's what DeRidder could end up being this year.
Yeah, Jefferson was their most toolsy player for sure. And I think it just, as the season went on, they just started playing with him in that middle third of the floor and having him just being like almost like a primary playmaker.
Yes.
And just like making plays. And so, and he was a guy when he came from St. Mary's, you didn't necessarily expect that from him. But yeah, I mean, I think DeRidder, and when you look at the other big, is it Grunlow? Grunlow?
Grunlow. I don't know how you pronounce. I don't know.
I'll let you take the
because the U it's the U with the 2 little dots over it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'll let you put the. I'll let you.
What is that? An umlaut, whatever it is.
That's.
I don't know.
That's your area. That's
We'll go with Grunlow. That'll work.
Yeah, you're more cultured than I am.
But that's not saying that's not a good thing. You don't want that. You don't want that.
Speaks to my lack of culture, I guess. But I think Grew, like I worry about him from a physicality standpoint a little bit. Like he plays very upright. He's kind of thin below the waist. Kind of feels weird saying that, but like, he's and so like that factors in when you talk about.
That's proof right there. You're not as cultured as me, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or maybe I am. Like the leverage on box outs. He's rangy enough to keep balls alive. He had 2 offensive rebounds a game in first league Germany, but some of the stuff like battling down low, when you're a roller like that and you're taking bumps and getting knocked off your spot, like that's some of the stuff I worry about for him. But he can just be a guy that can even just go in the short corner and in the dunker spot and just like shot goes up, keep balls alive. And you can rely on DeRidder to be more of the guy that can play in those pockets and be more in the middle third or be more of like a hub with all these shooters coming off. So that's kind of how I look at those 2 internationals coming in. But DeRidder like is ready. It's almost like, and I know I got an Illinois jersey behind me, but like kind of how Avicic was. Yeah,
that was another guy. I think
Tomislav was just like ready. Like I watched the film and I told guys, that I was preseason. I was like, if Avicic doesn't work out, then I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I will truly question everything I've ever felt about my ability to evaluate players and how they translate from overseas to the United States for college basketball. And I feel the same exact way for DeRitter. Like if DeRitter is somehow not impactful, I don't know, Rob. Then I don't know what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
I don't. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy how out of the box ready that dude is.
Yep. All right. Expectations for this group. What is it?
I mean, I'm confident they obviously take a real step forward. I think the house is in order for them to be a threat as in that second tier, probably in the ACC. I think it's. Would you say Louisville and Duke are kind of the cut above the rest, or like was that where you would make that draw that line? And then I think Carolina is going to be better.
I go,
I
it's
think
it's Louisville and Duke. I'd probably go Louisville then Duke. Then
NC
to
State.
me, it's
You're in the
NC
same.
State and
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Yep.
And personally, I would have Virginia in that same conversation as NC State and North Carolina.
Yeah.
But
Second tier.
yeah, I think they're
Yeah.
fifth to me, but I would have them in that same conversation there as those two.
Yeah. I think they can be in that second tier for sure. The ACC that I think firmly puts you in the NCAA tournament is probably like a top 9 seed. Um, and then I just think like I'm not worried about them whatsoever offensively. I think it's a top 20, top 25, maybe if I'm being a little bit more cautious, offense in America. How high they can climb defensively and how they fare on the glass, I think is going to determine how far they go and how comfortable they are on Selection Sunday. Because if they figure things out on that end and on the glass and they're just able to make things work, I don't think they're sweating at all. Which is definitely a welcome addition or a welcome scenario for Virginia over the past few years where they snuck into the first four a few years ago and then last year miss it all together. So
Yeah.
it should be a real season of progression for Virginia basketball.
Yeah. My personal expectation is I think that there's top 25 upside with this group.
Yeah,
I think Brian is really, really good. And I think that he really recruited to the roster that he wants to be able to build. The expectations that they should have, dance. If you're back in the
yeah,
tournament with Virginia
totally.
this year, like it's a good season, man. Remember, it's 10 months. It's been 10 months since Tony Bennett said, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm not coaching this year." On October, it was like October 22nd, I think. Before this, it was like 3 weeks before the season started. Tony Bennett decided he wasn't going to coach. He went through a year with Ron Sanchez as an interim. You don't necessarily have like the 15, $20 million in NIL that some of these other programs have. You had to rebuild everything, a completely new roster. Like if Ryan Odom gets this team to the tournament, it's a good year. Point
Totally.
blank, period.
Yeah.
As far as off season grades is concerned, A- for me, right? The only thing that is keep me from giving it an A+ is I don't love the 5 situation. I think going in with a German freshman, and Ugana Onyenso at the 5 is something where I'd be a little bit nervous, which is why I have them at an A-. But if you're Virginia, you got Ryan Odom, you beat NC State and Villanova and some of these other big name programs to one of the best coaches that you were going to find in the portal this year. You got the guys you wanted to get, and you got a stud from Spain. I could have been, the only way it could have been better is if I felt a little bit better about the 5 spot.
I had an A- too, and we've already talked about a lot of the reasons why. So I'll keep it short. I think the question marks around the 5 spot, how potent they can be defensive and rebounding, because like Unyenso, you can see like, hey, do we put him in there as like an anchor defensively? But then what does that do for you in your spacing offensively? There's decisions to be made there, but yeah, it's a very very clean A- for Ryan Odom in Virginia. I think they had a hell of an offseason, and they just add to the strength, the new strength I think, or maybe that going back to the old strength that we saw at the ACC conference, trying to get back to that, and this is a hell of a start for them.
Yep. All right. Listen, this has been off-season grades here on the Field of 68. My name is Rob Dosser. That is Mike Latulip. Make sure you go and check out the podcast feed or the YouTube channel. I think right now we probably have about 30 of these up. There should be another 10 of them coming over the course of the next couple days as we get ready for the season to start, for real season previews to get going, and for college basketball to be here. Man, we're less than 10 weeks away from the start of the college basketball season, which is crazy
I feel like we were just in San Antonio.
Yeah, it feels like we were just in San Antonio. It feels like we were just talking about portal stuff. Summer goes quick, man. Summer goes quick. Mike, always good to see you. This has been Off Season Grades, Field of 68.